Did I get ya? Hello, welcome back to our RWBY reaction. Today we're doing RWBY Volume 2, Episode 8, Field Trip! Yay! I was actually on a field trip recently. I got to visit a cool game studio, and it was behind, some of my favorite games, so it was pretty fun. Anyway, so, besides that, here's the highlighted comment from last video. Juniper is so gender non-conforming coded from the fact all of their characters' illusion were from the opposite sex, and her illusion are characters known for or done cross-dressing, Joan of Arc and Mulan. So I actually was thinking about that, and I don't know how RWBY does it, but for me, when I try to write characters that are based off of a historical figure or a myth or folklore or whatever it is, I like to first of all figure out what that character represents in the medium that, you know, that story is told, or what that historical figure represented when they were alive, or what their reputation is now. And then figuring out how to, number one, either subvert that into a creative and unique unique reversal of what they were supposed to be, or number two, that tried to depict their story, but in a way that fits the current story. You know, like for example, Sun being Sun Wukong, I wonder if we'll get a Journey to the West inspired story arc for him. Or, you know, it doesn't have to be an entire arc. I mean, it would be nice because we're focusing on side characters sometimes in Juniper, right? So it would be nice to have his own little arc, especially when we get to wherever he's from. But if not, you know, maybe if he's part of a team, his team is based off of the characters of Journey to the West. You know, like, does Neptune fit into that, or does the other members of his team fit into that? I don't know, but it would be cool if they at least alluded to that. So for Juniper specifically, or at least in this comment, referencing Joan and Ren. Here, let me take you to a reliable old Wikipedia page, okay? So, Joan of Arc, if you didn't know for some reason, is a patron saint of France and was a military leader. And the whole thing is that she's super young, and she was very devout in Christianity, I believe, yeah. And she had claimed to see visions and whatnot, and that helped her, help popularize her. And, you know, she is the saint, and, you know, military stuff. Yeah. But most people know about the execution. And actually, I didn't know about this, about the reason why she was put on trial to begin with. Apparently, it's because she was wearing men's clothes. She got put on trial for dressing like a man. And she basically kept saying, I did it because of my visions, and I'll stop doing it once they're done. And, you know, she gave no practical reason why she was doing it, because at the time people were like, a woman can only wear men's clothes if there's no other clothes around, or you're trying to disguise yourself from the enemy. But obviously that's not what she's doing. She just wants to do it. So they put her on fucking trial for that. They put this kid on trial for that. And even then, she still clung to her beliefs. She wasn't trying to blaspheme from the belief. They coexisted. The cross-dressing and the thing coexisted, which is really interesting. And yeah, public heresy was a capital crime. And then she was executed at about the age of 19. They sent her to prison and whatnot. And then she started going back to wearing men's clothes and all this. And yeah, importantly about the visions and whatnot, modern scholars have discussed possible neurological and psychiatric causes for visions, like, hallucinations from all this or whatever. Yeah, but, you know, there's also a good chance that it's just being religious. And the clothing thing, right? So, interestingly enough, such a huge figure. A lot of it is about her religion, her visions, as well as how she died and her trial of cross-dressing. Funnily enough, John, literally last episode, cross-dressed, right? Which is really interesting. I think that's a fun nod, because I don't think they're gonna go into John necessarily being gender non-conforming, because I think that moment was the illusion of this detail, right? They're not gonna get into that as a plot point, but they had it in there as not just a gag, but it also doubled as the conclusion to that episode. That it's an emotional conclusion to him and Pyrrha's little conversation from the rooftop, from the balcony. So what is the detail about Joan of Arc that they want to focus on? That is what got me thinking. Is it him being religious? Are there gods in the world of RWBY? Are there any figures of worship? Is he gonna become a figure of worship? Like fucking Usopp in One Piece? Or is it the military leadership? Or is it what? I don't know. My personal theory is that he's going to be put on trial. Maybe not literally, but he's going to be put through a trial for something that he believes in. Because we see him struggle with being weak, right? But he has integrity, or at least he has now developed integrity after the Jaundice and Forever Fall episodes, and even now, he's slowly but surely gaining more of a moral compass, more of a spine, more integrity, right? Even though he isn't all of that when it comes to fighting, he knows how to give out strategic instructions, and, you know, even though he doesn't have battle experience, he doesn't. But he just has inherently good callouts. Some people are just like that. They're not very experienced, but they can see what's happening in the moment and go for it. Let's not forget, in Forever Fall, Pyrrha used her polarity to raise John's shield, but John was the one that sliced the head off the Ursa clean off. That was all him. So he's got potential, and Pyrrha's saying he's got a lot of aura, right? So he is potential man in this case. I'm just struggling to find a connection to Joan of Arc, but I'm thinking the trial part is where, you know, that's going to come in. Because at this point, he's not really resembling Joan of Arc all that much. The other thing I can say is, okay, maybe him being an inexperienced person coming into Beacon, forging the transcripts, that is kind of an allusion to how young the Joan of Arc was. That inexperience, maybe. That youthfulness, I don't know. I don't know. But it's very interesting that he was tired of being the maiden in distress, and then you turn and look at his inspiration, Jeanne d'Arc, famously not a maiden in distress. Interesting, but yeah, just thoughts about John. And now we get to Hua Mulan, or however you pronounce it. Very, very popular, legendary Chinese folk heroine, and her whole thing is that she took her father's place in the conscription for the army by disguising herself as a man. It's a story about how a woman goes into the ranks of a male-dominated field and absolutely kicks ass. But also, it's about agency and self-sacrifice in a way. Also, I haven't read Mulan or watched any media of Mulan in a very long time, so don't quote me on that, but that's my read of it. So for Ren, right, we don't really know much about him, but the funny thing is, he is a guy. Like, Ren in the show, he is a guy. Wouldn't it be really fucking cool if Ren is trans? where it's like, oh, he's a guy, and then we find out, oh, he's AFAB. I think that would be cool, right? And then we go into his past, and it's literally like, people didn't believe in him because he was a woman. I wonder, you know what? I wonder, is misogyny a thing in RWBY? Is there some kind of discrimination, or rather, discrimination against huntresses? Like, if you ask me, there's no reason to distinguish between hunter and huntress, because that's a weird distinction. What about all the non-binary hunters and huntresses? Like, what? That's why I always felt weird about giving gendered variations of names to jobs that have no relation to gender at all. Like, there's no reason to distinguish between a waiter and a waitress, or an actor and an actress. I just call them waiters and actors, because the gender has nothing to do with it. And in an attempt to be more inclusive to women, congratulations, you have excluded everyone who isn't a man and a woman. So I am a little like, well, it's something that I never talked about, but it's something I noticed. Hunters and huntresses, when we see no distinction, like there's no real case to be made about distinguishing between the two. It's literally a ladies and gentlemen kind of formality, So, but it would be cool if we did talk about that, because there could be discrimination. Because look, discrimination against different kinds of people is real in RWBY with the Faunus. So, since discrimination can exist, and also these are very male-dominated spaces. We got Ozpin, we got Ironwood, Glinda's the only woman that we know. We got Professor Port and the green hair guy teacher. It's rough out here, but the story is about women. Team RWBY are all women. In terms of the systemic structure of the academy, we see that it's very male dominated. So I don't know. I wonder. Yeah, we even know about Uncle Crow. That's a dude. So I don't know. Interesting. It could be cool to have that be part of his story. But I don't know. Ren's story could be super interesting because it's fucking Mulan. It's Mulan. You can be super creative with and go ham with his backstory. Whenever we get to that would be fucking awesome. Okay. Okay, we're back here now, and I actually have a second comment that I wanted to talk about, because this person brought up Cinder, or rather, Cinderella, who had to be back at the party by midnight. And yeah, multiple people in the comment section talked about Cinder being Cinderella. That is awesome. Okay, I wasn't tweaking. I wasn't making shit up. when I figured, oh, Cinder might have something to do with Cinderella, I was cooking. I just didn't know it. So I'm vindicated now. And that got me thinking also, if Cinderella is an antagonist, and I mean not just an obstacle, like an actual main antagonist of the show, what could Cinderella possibly want? Because she's ordering Roman to steal a bunch, and I mean a fuck ton of dust, as in she wants to literally monopolize the fucking dust economy in Vale, which is okay, that's gonna cause problems for the economy, because dust is used in a lot of things, right? And especially as weapons, not just commodities, but also for weapons. By hoarding all the dust, you are not only leaving Vale not defenseless, but you are weakening them in terms of military, you're also disrupting the economy for regular people who want to use dust for other things, other purposes. Like you want to use dust as a battery or to power your shit. Nope. Don't have it. That'll cause unrest. And that'll leave a resource shortage. They are gearing up for a war. That's what this is. With war, you start with resource control, because a war is nothing but a war of attrition. There's no war. I don't say there's no war, but most wars are waged over a long period of time and seeing which one taps out first. Usually. Otherwise, if it's less of a push and pull, that's more like a genocide. So, yeah. And that doesn't seem to be the case. The other thing that they're doing is they're infiltrating the academy. They infiltrated the academy. They've gotten a survey of all of the students there and their powers, or at least trying to suss out which ones are problems, like Pyrrha. So they're doing research on the enemy combatants. And then now, just recently, they've implanted a virus into their comms system. How they're doing all of this undetected, either they're really good or Beacon's really incompetent. But either way, they're 3 steps in, things are going well for them. Resource advantage, knowledge of the enemy, and sabotaging their communications. We're fucked. Whatever they're up to, we're fucked. But, looking at that plan, what exactly does Cinderella have to do with this? Why does Cinder want to get at Beacon Academy? Or maybe it's just Vale in general. What the fuck are they doing? What do these guys want? And Emerald and Mercury don't really give us any hints either to what this is supposed to be. We don't know what our motivations are. So, they got me thinking, now that we know she is Cinderella, thinking on her inspiration, what are Cinderella's motivations? Well, a big thing about Cinderella is that she's always under someone's foot with the stepsisters. So she's always in this state of powerlessness at the hands of someone else. And then she finds a magic fairy that gives her everything that she could ever want under one condition. Just one minor condition. It really is minor. And she gets to have the life she dreams of for that night. And the way I would write this is she breaks that promise herself. Because, in the original, she runs away and then leaves behind the shoe. But I can't really find any reason to use that part of the story of Prince Charming finding the shoe and the stepsisters fucking cutting off their heels to fit in the shoe. I don't know where that would fit. But personally, for the sake of telling a story about the character, I'd say that if Cinderella is the villain in this case, it might have been her hubris, where she breaks the one minor rule and loses the life that she dreams of. Perhaps it's greed, some kind of other hubris, maybe, some kind of one of the 7 sins. Very hedonistic desire. And so it's a story about from rags to riches with a shortcut, and that meant that she couldn't appreciate the high life. Like, she went from being at the bottom, she shot immediately to the top, doesn't understand how to use that correctly, how to use that privilege correctly, and that's the hubris, right? Did that make sense? I think that was a very long-winded way of explaining what I was trying to explain. I'm sure there was like a million shorter ways to say that. But that's the only thing I could possibly think about. It's going to be about power and hubris. But that still tells me nothing about what Cinder could possibly want out of all of this. So I don't know. But yeah, you know what? you guys bring up a really good point. When you think about character inspirations for this show, you really start to connect more dots than the show lets on. It's pretty interesting. But I'm also worried that knowing character inspirations might spoil future plot points, but at the same time, it's not like the show is hiding it. They're pretty like on the nose with a lot of the inspirations, right? So it's honestly a testament to fans for noticing and figuring out plot details in advance, I think. And they don't really, the writers don't really need to stick to the inspiration one-to-one. I mean, clearly they don't already. It really is just about interpreting the character or interpreting the source in your own way, and then making it work for what happens in your own show. So, yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, this has been probably the longest intro I've done for this series so far. Yeah, let's just get to the episode, guys. There's a point where it tips, there's a point where it breaks, there's a point where it bends, and a point we just can't take anymore. There's a line that will cross and there's no return. There's a time and a place, no bridges left to burn anymore. We can't just wait with lives at stake until they think we're ready. Our enemies are gathering, the storm is growing deadly. Now it's time to say goodbye to the things we love and the innocence of youth. Oh god. This opening kinda... Oh god, this is gonna be about the loss of innocence. I don't know, man. It's fucking dark as shit.
They were here. Ozpin, they were here!
Right under your noses.
Aware of that. Thank you, James.
Fantastic. You're aware. Now, are we going to do something about it, or should we just stay the course and continue to ignore what's right in front of us?
Come in.
Sorry it took so long. Someone accidentally hit all the buttons on the elevator on the way up here. It wasn't me.
Thank you for coming, Ruby.
She's nervous.
Okay, I guess. I'd feel better if my bad guy catching record wasn't 0 for 3. Okay, so that's the tone we're going for. Got it.
Ruby, I feel it's appropriate to let you know that I think what you did last night is exactly what being a huntress is all about. You recognized a threat, you took action, and you did the very best you could.
It's very encouraging.
Thank you, sir.
Now, the General here has already informed us of the events that transpired last night. But now that you've rested, we were wondering if you had anything to add.
Was anyone else with her? Did she look familiar to you at all?
I don't know. She was wearing a mask, and she never said anything to me. But I know she fought with glass. I
she caught
that was her semblance, though. Her clothing lit up whenever she attacked.
Wow, observant.
Save for the glass. That sounds like the woman I fought the night we met Ruby.
Embedding dust into clothing is an age-old
How the
technique.
fuck did you catch
Could
that?
have been anyone.
Wait. You think this girl's connected to Torchwick and the White Fang?
That's classified. They ain't gonna let you know shit.
We still lack the required evidence to link the two together.
Actually, I think I remember her saying something about a hideout or something in the southeast, just outside the kingdom.
What?
Interesting.
I thought you said the intruder never...
Thank you for your cooperation, Ruby. Why don't you go and
Excuse?
spend some time with your team? You have a big day ahead of you.
Anytime.
And Ms. Rose, please try and be discreet about this matter.
Yes, sir.
Wait, am I tripping? Where did she get that information again? Oh, from the investigation. Oh my god, that scared me.
Well,
From the Weiss
Well, there we have it.
thing.
We send as many troops as we can to the southeast. Find out exactly what's going on and eradicate
Wow,
any
based
forces
on
that
what
stand
she
in our
said?
way.
Why must your answer to everything involve a triumphant display of military bravado? You treat every situation like it's a contest of measuring...
Glinda.
Well,
Well, he
I
does.
don't think it's
She's
unnecessary.
right. As much as I too would love to end this situation once and for all, we must remember that this may go beyond Vale, beyond Beacon.
That's true.
And if this truly is part of some master plan for which we know not the final move, we mustn't be so bold, nor can we risk the spread of panic.
Right, but what are we gonna do then?
I have served you faithfully for years. But if you mean to tell me that your plan is to merely hold the defenses and wait...
It is not. You're a general, James. So tell me, when you prepare to go to war, which do you send in first? The flag bearer or the scouts?
It could be a red herring.
That was a risky move.
Yeah.
No. I think you handled it well.
I hope so.
I'm sure everything will be all right, Ruby. Oh, I know what will cheer you up.
What's that?
What?
I don't know yet. Dad sent it to us.
Oh.
I thought we could open it together.
Dad mentioned. Why did you go around her if you wanted it? The fuck? Huh? That's a dog! Zwei?
He said a dog?
In the mail? That's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
he does stuff like this all the time.
Your father or your dog?
Are you telling me that this mangy, drooling
Oh no.
mutt is going to live with us forever?
Oh wait, no, she's
yes,
into
he
it.
is. Yes, he is.
Oh my god, of course.
He's adorable.
Of
Please
course.
keep it away from my belongings.
Would all first-year students please report to the amphitheater?
Well, we can't exactly leave him here while we're gone for a week.
Look, there's a letter. Dear girls, I've got to leave the island for a few days, so I'm sending Zwei to you to take care of.
Look at Blake.
Enclosed is all the food you should need. Love you both, Tai Yang.
Tai Yang.
What is he supposed to do with
Oh.
that?
Well, that settles it. Come on, girls. Zwei will be here when we get back.
Oh, I'll miss you so much. We're going to be best friends. I can't wait to see you again.
Dude, there's so many jokes layered into this one scene. I need to talk about it later. And she took the dog.
Quiet. Quiet, please.
God damn it. Oh my god. Your bag's gonna make suspiciously
Professor
dog
Osborne
noises.
would like to share a few words before we begin.
Today we stand together, united. Mistral, Atlas, Vacuo, Vale. The four kingdoms of Remnant. On this day, nearly 80 years ago, the largest war in recorded history came to an
I'm
end.
writing this down.
It was a war of ignorance, of greed, and of oppression. A war that was about much more than where borders fell or who traded with whom, but about the very idea of individualism itself.
Oh?
We fought for countless reasons, one of which being the destruction of all forms of art and self-expression. And as you are well aware, that was something many could not stand for. As a result, those who opposed this tyranny began naming their children after one of the core aspects of art itself: color. It was their way to demonstrate that not only would they refuse to tolerate this oppression, but neither would the generations to come. And it was a trend that is held to this very day. We encourage individuality, expressionism, and unity through diversity. As I have said, today we stand
That's
together,
awesome.
united. But this bond cannot exist without effort. Which is why today, while the rest of the world celebrates peace, huntsmen and huntresses will work to uphold it. As first-year students, you will be tasked with shadowing a professional huntsman or huntress on a mission.
Oh.
Some of you may be taken out of the kingdom for several days.
We get to meet a
Others may work within the walls
professional.
for the rest of the week. But no matter which path you choose, remember to be safe, remember your training, and remember to do your very best.
Oh, this is gonna be a rather high stakes thing, isn't it? We get to see a professional in
This is
action.
perfect. All we have to do is shadow a huntsman working in the southeast.
Yeah, we'll follow them around my day and give them the slip at night.
Let's check search and destroy.
Here we go. Quadrant 5 needs Grim cleared out.
Well, it's in the southeast.
Sounds perfect.
Oh no.
Wonderful.
Any other ideas?
We mail ourselves there.
She's got a
Well,
point.
That's one option. Unfortunately, we determined that the concentration of Grimm was too extreme for first-year students.
Extreme? Oh.
It seems that particular region is rather popular. In fact, I have the sneaking suspicion that the four of you will make your way there no matter which job you choose.
Why are they looking at her?
Whatever makes you say that?
I'm still curious as to how you all found yourselves at the docks last semester. I'm interested to know how you really learned about a hideout in the southeast.
Uh-oh.
And I certainly wonder why witnesses reported seeing robots and rose petals in a dance club some time ago.
Well...
I doubt I'll ever find the exact answers I'm looking for.
Must be a different Team RWBY.
How about this? Instead of waiting for you all to break the rules, why don't we just bend them?
So you're gonna let these fresh first-year students go do a high
we won't
grim
let you
activity?
down. Thank you, Professor.
Do not thank me for this.
Well, it's still his responsibility if
Teamwork and
anything
persistence have carried you
happens to
far.
them.
But you must understand, the things that await you beyond the protection of the kingdom will not care. Stay
I'm
close
scared.
to your huntsman at all times, and do exactly as he says. He will be leading you on this mission, and he can have you sent back to Beacon if he finds your skills to be unsatisfactory.
Ooh. This guy must be...
Good luck.
Thanks.
That wasn't exactly uplifting, but it's the truth.
It's gonna be tough, but I know we can do it.
Hey, Team Coffee is back.
Team Coffee? It's a fun name. Oh, whoa.
Velvet? Are you okay?
Velvet?
I'm fine.
Oh,
I
it's
had
her.
Yasu to look out for me.
Your mission was supposed to end a week ago. What happened?
Oh.
Nothing happened. It was just... There were just so many. Oh, but don't worry.
That's terrifying.
Your first years are just shadowing huntsmen, so you should be fine.
Yeah. So you guys aren't first years.
I should go. Be safe, okay?
Has she got an Australian accent? It's so
We
cute.
can do this. We've never backed down before, and we're not going to start now.
Never back down, never what?
Besides, it won't only be us out there. We'll be fighting alongside a genuine huntsman.
A professional.
Yeah.
Why, hello, girls. Who's ready
Oh
to fight
my
for their
god.
lives?
No. He's gonna look silly, but he's actually gonna be really good. That's how it's gonna be. It's gonna be like, oh man, this guy, nobody's favorite professor, and then he's actually just gonna he's gonna school us. He's gonna school us so bad. Wow, that was such a cool episode. So much build up. Also, so much dread. Oh, feels a little ominous. Wow, cool fan art. That's so lovely. Whoa. Chill. At least buy me dinner first. Jeez. Anyway, yes, you know the drill. I've got lots to write about. I need to. We're gonna talk about this. All right. Okay. Hi, I'm Big again. So, interesting episode. So many things to chew on. So let's start with the beginning here. Tension between Ozpin and Ironwood. Ironwood probably feels vindicated because he was the one that was warning Ozpin about, hey, I'm just being cautious, and Ozpin's like, no, you gotta keep it low key. And then like very soon after, oh, we've been infiltrated. Huh? Yeah, low key, yeah. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, I mean, Ozpin's passive approach failed. I mean, I was commenting on this, how security is very lax, all things considered. I mean, it wasn't their fault for Cinder soloing the entire watchtower, but the entire, not CCTV, CCT, yeah? But still, right, they had everyone, even Ironwood, at the party, which meant that people just weren't there. Also, Ironwood showed up at the CCT. I don't know why, but he showed up at the right time, I guess, but not sure why he even went there to begin with. That could be something. I don't know. Maybe he was informed that people noticed that the security guards were disappeared or taken out at the tower, and he went there to personally check it himself. I don't know. But either way, after learning about what Ruby was saying, Ironwood sent a large group of soldiers to Southeast Vale. As he does. And Glinda was saying, oh, you treat this like a dick measuring contest, right? I mean, in a way, maybe that's how he feels safe, right? But I do agree that sending as many troops as possible isn't the play, especially since I don't know if they can verify that information that Ruby gave them exactly. So sending such a huge group of soldiers, that could also be the plan. That could be a red herring, like I said. Ozpin is right in the sense that they don't really know what the scope of this is. They don't know who the villains are. They don't know what they want. They don't know if this involves other kingdoms. So sending that many people to what essentially comes off as a hearsay intel is pretty rash of a move, to be honest. That's not very tactful of a general. So it is basically like him flexing, to be honest. But obviously, there's an argument against this because Ironwood says he doesn't, he basically doesn't want to hold defenses and wait. This is a situation where they've been attacked. How could you hold the line? But Ozpin says it's not really that he wants to hold the line. It's more, if you ask me, it's probably because he doesn't want to show his cards yet. Who do you send first in a war, right? The scouts. And I mean, if what Crow's message said was relevant here, Queen as pawns. Cinder might not even be the queen in this situation. Cinder might be the scout. Or it could be that Cinder is the queen and the other guys are the pawns, but I mean, Cinder is here too. Like, you have to remember that. I don't believe that Cinder is the queen. Yeah, she installed the queen virus, the black queen virus and all, but she's also here. Like, it's not like she's planning somewhere else. No, she is with Emerald and Mercury. Torchwick is off somewhere, but we know for a fact that the other three are here. I don't think that's a queen thing. If we want to liken it to the scout thing, it's probably a scout thing, right? And so Ozpin's strat here is, hey, if you go in blasé like that, your enemy knows exactly what the size of your forces are and exactly where they are, right? You arrive announced, your entire fucking fleet coming over here to Vale, an entirely different kingdom's armed forces walking in to another kingdom. Sure, they're friends, but like, that's worrying. And then the enemies can see that. They're like, oh, Atlas's fucking military is here in Vale. Let's change our plans. But, it's an obstacle. It can force the enemies to change their strats, but you are also announcing your location and your secrets out to the enemy like that. Ozpin doesn't like that. That's not his style. But again, there's a bit of balance that has to be here. It's good that they're on the same team because Ozpin and Ironwood balance each other out. But clearly Ironwood is getting increasingly frustrated with Ozpin. I think as situations escalate, Ironwood will eventually not listen to Ozpin. He's gonna do what he thinks is right. In his way of doing things. That's where I see this going. So another thing I wanted to note, funnily enough, I don't know why Glinda said, Ruby said she wore a mask, never said anything, fought with glass, but probably not semblance, which is interesting to say. Because what could it be if not the semblance? Dust? Glass dust? Is glass an element? Is there glass dust? What would prompt Ruby to say that it probably wasn't her semblance, the glass? I don't believe that. I think it's just Ruby. I don't think that's true, especially when we consider the Cinderella thing. No, a Cinderella character with glass powers sounds like it's true. I don't know why Ruby said that. Clothing lit up when she attacked, and as we know from the World of Remnant stuff, you can do that. You can sew dust into clothes. I mean, maybe that's no. If we're talking the glass was from the dust sewn in the clothes, that means there is glass dust. So that actually might be the case. I don't know. And Glinda says, "Save for the glass. That sounds like the woman I fought the night I met Ruby." What do you mean? The clothing lit up, fought with glass, wearing a mask? I don't think Cinder was wearing a mask the first time. Her face was just hidden in shadow. And obviously she didn't say anything. And then Glinda's like, "Save for the glass." What do you mean, save for the glass? That means that the only thing that connects you to that stranger at the first time you met was the clothing lighting up. And even Ironwood says, "I'm betting dust into clothing is an age-old technique. It could have been anyone." So I don't know why Glinda would say that. But yeah, I mean, it is true to bring up that she did look like she had fire powers the first time around. She was straight up, let's see, what did I write? Shoot fire, create exploding marks in the ground, fire pulse that only damaged the attack, not the ship, blocking bullets. But then it appears that she also creates swords, create clothes, creates bow and fire arrows, use dust in bottles to create shards. So actually, you know what? It might be the case that her semblance is fire and that she has dust that she... No, because you can heat up sand to make glass. So maybe she had sand that she heated up to make glass. I don't know. I mean, this is really cool because on top of the magic system that are semblances, there's also the magic system of the dust, where this allows characters to essentially have 2 powers or more. They have innate powers that they have themselves, and then they have tools and weapons that allow them to have other powers, other elemental powers. I think it's super cool, and because there's different ways that you can incorporate it in your battles, like in clothes, that gives you a greater degree of expression in terms of how you want to fight. I think that's super cool, because that spices things up. Characters don't just have one power. They mess around with all sorts of powers and their weapons. It's super cool, super layered. That's one of the fun parts about this show. But yeah, anyway, we got a dog named Zwei. So I'm wondering, what happened to Ein? Did the first one die and then we're... Okay, well, whatever. So we know that Ruby and Yang's dad is called Tai Yang. Clearly, Yang is taken after Tai Yang. Yeah, that makes sense. Leaving the island for a few days and sent Zwei for them to take care of. First of all, I don't know why you think sending... You're leaving the island for a few days and you thought to send a pet all the way to students who have to go to class and who are also leaving for a field trip. And it's like, oh no, we're leaving for a field trip. How are we going to feed him? And then he sent all the food in the mail. And I'm like, excuse me, Mr. Dad, you could have just done that without mailing the dog? Am I crazy? He could have just left the food there at home with the dog, because that's basically what was going to happen anyway. I mean, even if you didn't know that they were going on a field trip, that's what was going to happen anyway. they were just gonna leave Zwei there until they came back. Which is like, and Osmond was saying these shadow missions could last up to a week. That's even worse than a few days. I don't know functionally what the point was there other than to just have Team RWBY have a dog now. I don't know. Anyway, regardless, he says he's leaving the island. And you know what? We do know of an island. We know of an island. Going back to my Season 1 notes, into our world building. Place. In Vale, there is an island called Patch. From the map that Torchwick had initially, there was like Forever Fall, Beacon Academy, and all these areas, districts, and then there's Patch Island. I wonder if this is the island where they grew up in. Because initially I thought, like, Vale? Is it Vale where they were living in, where Signal is? And no, it's probably that. Probably that. Yeah, so we actually got to see the transfer students, because apparently, you know, for the tournament, we got transfer students over. They're probably staying here, getting their education for a while they're prepping for the festival, which is really interesting that they're doing it that way. So I assume the festival, is it like the Olympics? Do they rotate which academy has it so that weeks in advance all the other academies could send over their participating students over to that academy to stay for a few weeks in preparation for the tournament? I don't know. Interesting, I guess. We got to see their uniforms, right? The Mistral ones were wearing black uniforms. Atlas was wearing white. Vacuo didn't really have a uniform. And Vale was wearing a black blazer. This is kind of cool. It kind of tells you a bit about what the vibe is, right? Atlas, we know, is very militaristic. I mean, they look like Ironwood. They look like Weiss. And, you know, it gives that vibe. Mistral, I'm not really sure what vibe it's giving off, to be honest. Based on what we know about Mistral, we know that there's a tournament there. Sanctum is a school. Pyrrha was there. I don't think we really know what Mistral has yet. Vacuo is very like, okay, we know the vibe from there. We know clearly it's a very casual place, right? So maybe yeah, it's very opposite of Atlas, which is cool. And Vale is very proper. It's very prim and proper, not like the Atlas military vibe, but more like a proper academy, maybe intellectual kind of vibe. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. And yeah, we got lore. Lore, actually fucking crazy, right? This is crazy. So, Four Kingdoms and Remnant, right? Nearly 80 years ago, the largest war in recorded history ended. We heard of a war before. There was a war a long time ago. And I think it was John who said that his grandpa, great-grandpa, whichever, his family member fought in a war a long time ago. And that his weapons are hand-me-down, or at least the sword was. I think it was both, sword and shield, was from the war, an heirloom, a family heirloom, which is pretty interesting. It was a war of ignorance, greed, and oppression. Basically a war on individualism, the destruction of all forms of art and self-expression. Which is really interesting, because that would tie more into themes. I'm not really sure. This is a smorgasbord of themes, but this feels important lore-wise. And I mean, they put a lot of emphasis on this and creativity and rather self-expression. So I feel like this arc, this field trip arc, might have something to do with that. Or maybe the following season might have something with that. I don't know. But it's cool. But it's interesting. I don't think this is the war that they had with the Faunus, or rather with the White Fang, was it? Because I think there was that. Right, there was the Faunus War, or the Faunus Rights Revolution. I don't think it was that, though. This feels like a different war, because this is not about the Faunus, But I mean, this is also oppression, so it could be. But I don't know. Also ignorance. So it could be related to that, but I don't think it is. And then they named children after colors as a protest, which I think is super cool. There's a lot of people, it's not everyone, but most people did. And I think that's awesome. I think that's a super cool idea to have in your world. So, because it's lasting consequences, right? There was a war that happened in lore. We don't see it. And as far as we know, nothing to do with the characters that we know, except for John, but that's even the loose connection. And, that affected everyone, and people who protested would name their children after colors to be like, hey, we want our creativity, we want our expression, we want art, we want to keep art. I can get behind that. It's about unity, diversity, expression, power of friendship, yada, yada, yada. That's RWBY for ya. But it's very interesting that the death of creativity was one of the things that were fought over in this universe. I wonder how that ties into everything else. How that ties into good versus evil and Grimm being a force of nature. I mean, I don't think this has to do with the Grimm. This is a fight. This is a civil war between people. This is people on people fight. I guess this war is more about how humans will fight each other even when there's a greater evil, because that'll definitely happen. I think it has happened in our history too. We like to think humanity will band together when there's a greater force. Well, some of us, not all of us. That is what it is. But I don't know, I think this is a really cool piece of lore that feeds back into the design philosophy of the show itself and what the show is like. We got cool fights, rule of cool, creative powers, everyone's so colorful, and it's just a testament to art. And this was at the time an indie show. I mean, they were independent still at the time before they were bought out, right? Rooster Teeth. So this is a very relevant topic to what the company stood for, I think, maybe. Cool. So first year students shadow professional huntsmen on a mission. Now my question is, if the entire hall was first year students, because Osmond said first year students, he was addressing the whole place and he mentioned first year students. So I wonder why a mission that wasn't available to first year students would even show up in the listing, because that means there's probably a ton of missions in that listing that weren't allowed, but it's there anyway. Whoever's working on this fucking program screen behind the scenes needs to step up, man. That's terrible UX. Come on, man. Step up. Do better. Yeah, then the search and destroy mission. Search and destroy. Interesting. Maybe we're getting like a bounty. Maybe there's like a super powerful boss Grimm that we have to fight. I think that is cool. And yeah, Osmond knows what the girls are up to. He's giving very Dumbledore, like, oh, you kids, you are fighting greater evils in your pastime. Between classes, and that greater evil is something that I am also fighting. So low-key, I'm gonna be an enabler and endanger you guys' lives, even though you're far less experienced and young and are prone to getting injured. And I know that this force is a dark evil, big scary that will kill people. But because you cheeky kids keep poking your nose in our business, I'm gonna allow you to risk yourselves, risk your lives, and if anything happens, it's on them. Anyway. Osmond is a really interesting guy. On one hand, he's like, "Oh, I hope my children don't have to win a war. Oh, we have to wait. We have to wait and see what happens. Oh, we need to be passive about this." And then he's like, "Okay, I will allow these first-year students including RWBY, which is 2 years younger than everyone else, to take on this really dangerous mission that isn't even allowed for them. Hey, well, but because they're clearly gonna do it anyway, you might as well, haha, haha. I don't know what to think about that. But yeah, he says, teamwork and persistence have carried you far, but the things that await you beyond the protection of the kingdom will not care. There's so many things in this episode that allude to this mission being really scary, and that scares me because everything's just pointing towards, hey, y'all are doing great. Y'all don't know what the world is like. And this scares me because we are coming up to the latter half of the season now. The opening is about the loss of innocence and a ticking time bomb before things go bad. We've got the villains doing everything correctly. And our headmaster group, who is supposed to be the most competent group that we've seen so far on our side, is none the wiser. No idea what's going on, and they're kind of infighting low-key. And there's a super dangerous mission that's gonna happen. I'm scared. I'm scared of what's gonna happen in this arc. I don't know. It's just a bunch of like dread, and also it loops back into the themes of fairy tales and how Blake was saying life is not like a fairy tale, but RWBY's like, no, that's why we're here, to make it better. We are what makes fairy tales work. We are the miracle workers that turn stories about heroes into reality. Because reality is cruel, doesn't owe you heroes. People have to actively make the choice to become heroes. And that is what the Huntsmen are. And I think there's going to be a reality check eventually. I think I talked about this in Volume 1 as well, about how I think we need to have a Darkest Hour moment, and that it has a possibility to be very dark because, you know, this is a story that, like, think about what Team RWBY has been doing. Sure, they've been investigating here and there. They fought Torchwick at the docks to stop him from stealing a large shipment of dust from the Schnee Dust Company. And then, guess what happens in Volume 2? They stole all the dust anyway. Sure, Team RWBY succeeded at stopping that robbery. And RWBY herself succeeded in stopping Torchwick's little robbery at the dust shop in Episode 1 as well. But guess what? In Volume 2, they managed to steal enough dust anyway so that they could proceed to Phase 2. So they failed. Team RWBY didn't do anything. In the long term, they didn't actually do anything. Then they went undercover. They found information, and to be fair, the information that they got about the Southeast stuff is useful because now we've got a large platoon. That's not the right term. A large group, whatever the military term is, as many soldiers as Atlas can afford, sent to the Southeast. Whoa, okay. So now we got real movement from real military to there. Okay, cool. That's 1+1 for Team RWBY. And then we got Blake's side, Blake and Yang. No, not Blake and Yang. Blake and Sun, sorry, different blonde, went to infiltrate the White Fang meeting. We learned that they snagged a bunch of stuff from Atlas, including the robot, the Paladin, I think. They destroyed it. They destroyed the robot. And Torchwick had to get away with that new girl. But something tells me they have more robots. If they manage to snag one, like, how many more can they possibly snag? Like, especially if they have an informant on the inside. Could you imagine a traitor within the Atlas military? That's possible. That's completely possible. Who knows, right? Maybe that's where they're getting all this stuff. Maybe we'll see that, oh, they suddenly have Atlas tech more. Atlas weapons. Atlas uniforms. Like you think, oh wow, these are Atlas soldiers, and then whoops, actually it's the White Fang in disguise. We're fucked. We're fucked, right? I don't know. Things are... Yeah, I'd say I'll give +2 to Team RWBY, +1 for the info, plus another +1 for destroying the robot that Torchwick had and forcing him to run away. Sure, I'll give that one to them. But that was a loss and a win. We're now at net neutral. So now they're leaving school. Now they're leaving the school grounds into uncharted territory, into more danger. On the plus side, we have a professional. We have Dr. Bartholomew Oobleck, who is incredibly caffeinated, enthusiastic about history, responsible and cares about his students. We have this guy, who I think is a secret badass. But yeah, I'm worried because usually, right, and this is my knowledge of stories, especially shonen, when you have a powerful character alongside a team of inexperienced and less powerful protagonists, they're probably going to face greater danger. One of the most exciting, that's like one of the coolest arcs in shonen, is when the main characters who are growing in power, getting closer together, relatively early on in the story, they're going to be following some professional. And this professional is a benchmark for what their power could look like in the future. It's basically a taste of the gap, the power gap between what a true strong person looks like in the universe compared to where the main characters are at the time. I can think of My Hero Academia that does this. I can think of Black Clover that does this. One Piece doesn't do it exactly like that, but they constantly pit the Straw Hats against or with other characters in the world that are leagues beyond them. And that's also a measure of just how big of a gap there is between where we are and where we could go. But usually in these kinds of arcs, the professional has to meet their match as well. So they have to face off against an even greater threat. I'm not saying RWBY is a shonen, but there's like a lot about it that's very shonen. But it's not exactly shonen. So, I'm not sure. But yeah, again, I'm expecting a super powerful Grimm that Team RWBY can't beat alone, and they need the help of Oobleck, and even then it's going to be a struggle. I feel like that's going to be cool. Yeah. Anyway. Velvet! Scarlatina, apparently. That's the girl who was getting picked on by Cardin. Apparently she's a senior. Second year, third year, we don't know. But not first year. Because first years have to shadow a huntsman. And they didn't. They were out for they were delayed by a week because nothing happened. There were just so many of them. That's the way she said that is like, oh, okay. That's scary. That is ominous. I can't believe that this is a senior that got picked on by fucking Cardin. He got packed up by a bear. I don't know. The guy characters in the show are so weird. We have like Cardin, Neptune, Jean. I mean, there are a lot of guys, but within the cast of the students, Sun, they're all a very specific type of character. You know what I mean? Not a lot of variation there, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, cool that we get to meet a different team. Team Coffee is how it's said, but in terms of how it's spelled, it could be literally anything. Coffee, Kavev, Kavi, Coffee, Coffee. Beats me. Whatever. No, wait. Velvet. No, Velvet is the V, and Yatsuhashi's is another guy. That's V and Y. So it's V and Y are definitely in. Just don't know about the other two. But yeah. Did I talk about everything I wanted to talk about? I feel like I'm missing something. Not sure what I'm missing. Oh yeah, the scene with Zwei. That was such a fantastically written scene in terms of gags. It was just gag after gag after gag. It was like first RWBY going around Yang to try and reach over. Don't know why she went around again, but whatever. Sent a dog in the mail, and then Blake was like, "Who?" Like, no, Yang was like, "Oh yeah, he does this all the time." And then Blake was like, "Who? Your dad or the dog?" And then Weiss being unexpectedly attached to Zwei and doing the little baby voice. And then the zoomed out shot where Blake is like trying to avoid Zwei. And then the physical gag of all the tin cans coming out. And then Weiss is like, what is it gonna do with all of that? And then the can opener dinks out and is like, well, yep, that settles it. You'll just use the can opener. And then Blake running across the table to go. There's so many cool character moments in there that made that scene feel so alive. You know, each character had their own defining like thing going on with them, and then there was the visual gags, and then the witty writing of the jokes. It reminds me so much of how Volume 1 was written. I love it. I love the banter and the comedy scenes in RWBY. They hit very well. They're really good at that. We're eating good today. I'm super excited to see where this arc goes. Thank you for watching. As always, the next episode will begin with a highlighted comment from this episode. So do leave in your comments and your thoughts about this episode and anything I missed. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.